Hey everybody, happy Thursday. It's Throwback Thursday, that's TBT is the hashtag. And I'm here at the Fox 5 Digital Studio, and I wanted to talk with you about the topic for our Street Soldiers show on Friday night. It's something that I have been taking a little bit of heat about, and I just kind of want to explain our thinking and also get your feelings about it. Now, a lot of people have heard of Suge Knight. He is the founder of Death Row Records. At one point, he had some of the biggest artists in hip-hop on his label, Snoop Dogg, Tupac, and as we know, throughout his whole career, he's had different brushes with the law, problems. He's had 2 felony convictions, and right now he is in Los Angeles County Jail. He's being held on a $10 million bail, and this is in connection with a attempted murder charge and a murder charge. So basically what had happened in 2015, Suge had gone to the set of Straight Outta Compton, which was about the whole West Coast rap movement and Dr. Dre and all of them. And he wanted to try to get money because they had a character, they had his personality and his likeness in the movie, if you saw it. So he wanted to collect money for that. And then there was this man named Terry Carter who was trying to, I guess, intervene, according to some people, and he told Suge, come to this burger joint, this parking lot, and we'll talk about it and we'll straighten everything out. So Suge gets there, and as soon as he gets there, he's in this big Ford, I think it's one of the F-150 trucks. He gets there in the truck, and supposedly somebody punches him. This other guy who was injured punches him through the window. Then he reacts or whatever. There's other guys that are around there. One guy has a gun, we don't know if it's a gun, but he pulls something out of his pocket and then puts it in the back of his waistband of his pants. Now, I'm sure you've seen the movies. If you haven't seen it on the streets, guys don't put their phone there. The thing they put there is a gun or some type of weapon. So the lawyer for Suge, his defense team, and he's now on his 6th defense team in 2 years, says that Suge felt threatened. That's why Suge put the truck in reverse, ran over Terry Carter, killing him, and injured the other guy who allegedly punched him in the window. And basically, his son says he was acting in self-defense. So my question is, there are a lot of people, I've been kind of surprised at how vehement people are against Suge Knight, and how, just how kind of like filthy the language is. A lot of people are using it's F Suge Knight over and over and over again, and he hasn't really been in the news much lately, except for these incidents with the, these criminal justice matters, if you want to call them that, different fights and things of that nature. So now this case, his attorney says, his current attorney says he was acting in self-defense, that he was in fear for his life, and that he was trying to get out of there because he basically thought he was surrounded and was going to get shot. Now, does Suge have a reasonable expectation of possibly being shot? Absolutely. He was shot in 2014 at least 6 times, and he's had medical complications, according to his family, since then and since that time. As a matter of fact, right now, he's in the hospital, USC Medical Center in California. He was taken there from the Los Angeles County Jail last night. He had serious blood clots. And as those of you who've had a loved one who's experienced it, or if you work, as a first responder or in the medical profession, you know that blood clots are a very serious thing. And if you get a blood clot and it goes into your, your heart, or I guess even your lung, it can kill you. And in order to control it, you have to be on medication, but that medication, that blood thinning medication, also carries with it its own risk. So it has to be very carefully monitored. So Suge was taken to the hospital last night. I spoke with his son, who now goes by the name Suge. His name is Jacob Knight. He took on the name Suge, and he said that his father remains in solitary confinement, which is what his attorney confirmed to us as well. He's been in solitary confinement for almost 2 years. His bail is $10 million, and on the Street Soldiers show, hey Sam, thank you for joining us. On our Street Soldiers show, we have an attorney, Charles Tucker Jr., who's a former prosecutor, and he said the fact that Suge turned himself in after this car accident, if you want to call it that, and that he was that he went to the police, he turned himself in, He knew they were looking for him. He didn't try to run. He didn't try to escape the country, flee to Mexico or go someplace else to one of the islands. Hey, Jimmy, thank you for joining us. Hi, Jeremy. Thanks for joining us. That he actually turned himself in, that should count for something. That shows that he's not trying to run away. Hey, Anthony, thank you for joining us. The attorney says that the fact that Suge turns himself in, that shows that he is not, has not the intention of fleeing, that he's basically good faith, and because of these other criminal charges that he's had in the past, he's always answered them. So I think the main thing is, with this case is, and the reason we wanted to do a whole show about it, and not just the news package, although I did do the news package to kind of set it up and bring everybody up to speed, but the reason we wanted to do the show was because here's a guy, if you're just looking at the facts, take away his reputation, which he still remains one of the most feared men in the music industry. He has that gangsta image and he has the gangsta reputation, and he's been involved in a lot of ish out there on the streets, fights, assault charges, all of these kinds of things. And then, of course, being with Tupac, when Tupac was shot and killed in Las Vegas, he's been around it, in a lot of places, flaunting the colors of the Bloods street gang, the red. There was always that. Now, I do have to tell you, I did meet Suge in person once. In 2002, after he'd gotten out of doing a 5-year prison term because of a parole violation, he was kind of doing a little bit of a publicity tour. He went on the Howard Stern show. He also did an interview with me at Hot 97 for my Street Soldiers radio show, which is now also our Street Soldiers TV show on Fox 5 tomorrow night at 10:30. And he basically has also, at that time he did the radio interview. I had text messages. Friends of mine were text messaging me and saying, do you need help? Are you okay? Is everything all right? Are you in danger? Suge was at the radio station. He had about 10 guys, dudes with him. They were grown men. They were not like, young gangbangers, what you would consider them to look like. They were grown men that you would see walking out of an office or walking down the street, coming to or from a job or working in a store somewhere, just average clothes. And those were his guys. And it was really clear, though, you got the vibe from them. Don't mess with these guys. These guys can pretty much handle anything and have been through anything. And those were his personal security. But in terms of the interview, I was in a tiny little recording booth with Suge, about as far away from him as I am from you right now with the camera, which is a couple of feet, that's it. And we did the interview, and he was extremely charming. And this is the thing that you'll hear from women about Suge and from other people as well. When he wanted to turn it on, he could turn on the charm. A lot of people think of him as this guy with the baseball bat, or this guy, trashing places, doing this, doing that, strong-arming people for money, all of these kind of things, allegedly hanging Vanilla Ice out a hotel window by his ankles and all this kind of thing. But when it was a one-on-one situation and when he wanted to make a good impression, Suge was more than capable. He's a very intelligent man. Despite the history of violence, he was more than capable of being extremely charming, trying to talk, and trying to engage me in terms of the conversation, and being very flattering, which I thought was very quaint, because here's this guy that people are texting me about going like, Lisa, are you okay? We want to make sure you're not basically like duct taped and stuck in a closet somewhere there at Hot 97. And we're having this conversation, and it was, it was a very good interview. He answered all my questions. And at that time, this is now 2002, Tupac is dead. He's already done 5 years in prison since Tupac's death. Not in connection with that, in connection actually with the fight that happened before Tupac was killed that night in Las Vegas. And the actual prison term came about as a result of a parole violation, of him violating parole. So he was basically looking forward to recreating the brand, the Death Row brand, recreating the his dominance in the music industry. But by 2002, of course, the music industry had changed. We're starting to see a 50 Cent making his moves and starting to come up, and different artists, major artists, starting to really dominate the whole music scene. So it was very different in that 5-year period while he was away on lockdown. So the Suge Knight that, people see, and I'm sure I'm going to get a lot of comments, people say they hate him, there's bad karma, what goes around comes around, and now he's just reaping, he's reaping what he sowed over the years that finally caught up to him. All of that may be true, but the question is, we're also in the show looking at the criminal justice issues here. The man is, remember, and again, we seem to be, as a society, very selective about this. We all have heard, you're innocent until proven guilty. However, if it's somebody we don't like, if it's somebody that we are convinced has done something very, very wrong, and we're convinced, or the social media world is convinced that they're already guilty, then we're not quite as generous about giving the person the benefit of the doubt, or even giving that person their constitutional right of basically being presumed innocent until they are found, either plead guilty or are found guilty by a jury of their peers. So when we look at the case that they have against Suge Knight right now, the murder charge, he turns himself in. That shows good faith. His bail was originally $25 million. It was dropped down to $10 million, which supposedly he still can't afford, although we don't know what his whole money situation is. That's very kind of sketchy, according to the music expert we have on the show. And, who knows where these guys stash money, who knows which, children's mother has money, or houses, what properties there might be, what music publishing rights he might still have access to, or still might be collecting, that type of thing. So the bail is $10 million, solitary confinement, and then these health problems. He has diabetes, suffered from a vision loss. His son said that the blood clots, which, if you're shot in certain places, and just from being overweight, or from other conditions, other high blood pressure, I guess other conditions. I'm not a medical expert by any means, but you can have these blood clots from different types of situations. Some people are more prone to them than others, and he's had those, and he nearly died one time, according to his son, from them. He collapsed in court a couple of times with very severe stomach problems, and then this issue of the blood clots. So it got very bad. His son told me that he actually called the LA County Sheriff's Department asking for them, to take his dad to the hospital, because he couldn't really visit his dad. And this is the other thing too, solitary confinement, and also no visitors. Nobody can visit him. Not his current fiance, not his son, not his children, and not his parents, who are not, his mother apparently is not in the best of health. So he's been in there for 2 years, no trial. Some of it, to be fair, the attorney says, is because he's had this revolving door of defense attorneys, and apparently every time when you're facing trial or facing charges, every time you have a new attorney come in, that kind of sets things back, and it stretches out the timeline. But in the meantime, he's already served 2 years, if you want to look at it that way, and hasn't been convicted of this crime of murder and attempted murder in connection with that with that incident with the pickup truck, where the weapon was allegedly his pickup truck. So those are some of the issues that we're talking about. And we also talk about his reputation, his persona that he created, this feeling, as Lord Jamar Brand Nubian, who's one of our guests on Street Soldiers Tomorrow Night, says. He goes, when he would walk into a room, or he would walk into a nightclub, there was always this sense like, whoa, something could pop off at any minute. And there was that feeling. And he just, this reputation, I mean, when he came to Hot 97 in 2002 for our interview, yes, there was this reputation. Yes, you could kind of feel like, when somebody super famous comes around, even though we see a lot of famous artists at the radio station, when he came around, everybody was kind of like, whoa. And then when he was in the glass enclosed recording booth with me, it was like, okay, everybody trying to catch a look. Let's take a look at him. Let's see what this guy really looks like in person. So I think that there's a lot of different issues there. And I think that the real question we have to ask ourselves, I think the real question we have to ask ourselves as a society is, do we still believe that you're innocent until you're proven guilty? Do we still believe that? Whether it's a terror suspect, whether it's a murder suspect, whether it's somebody in a racially charged bias crime or a heinous crime against a woman. What do we think? Do we believe anymore that you're innocent until proven guilty, or do we believe if you look guilty, it's up to you to prove that you didn't do that crime? So those are some of the things that we're going to be talking about on Street Soldiers tomorrow night at 10:30. And I would encourage you, I think it's pretty fascinating. And if you've been intrigued by that whole era of music, there's kind of like a big 90s nostalgia thing going on right now, as our guest Somaya Krishnamurthy, the pop music and culture expert, said on the show. There's this nostalgia going on about this era. Of course, we had that straight out of Compton movie that created a tremendous stir. And, you know, we see the people that were with Suge back in the day. Look at Dr. Dre, the first so-called hip-hop billionaire. Look at, look at Snoop Dogg, the career that he's created. Look at other people that were around him from that era. Ice Cube. Look at what Ice Cube has done with his movie career and these different movie franchises and those things. And they've all gone on to tremendous success. And yet here he is. He's 50 or 51, in prison, facing serious health concerns, and also a case which not only is he fighting for his life, but it could put him away for life if he's found guilty of this. And this would make him a 3-time felon. So the 3 strikes law apparently is still on the books in California. So there's a lot on the table. There's a lot at stake here. But I think the bigger issue for all of us is, do we still believe? Do you still believe? I want to know what you guys think about this. I know a lot of people don't like Suge Knight, and you're welcome to give me those comments as well. But I just want to ask you, do you still believe in America, regardless of what the crime was, regardless of what the videotape showed, regardless of what anything else is out there says, do you believe we are innocent until proven guilty? That's my question. And I hope you will join us tomorrow night, Friday night, 10:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Remember, you can see the show Street Soldiers on Fox 5 in New York, and also you can see us live stream in some parts of the world as well, but definitely around the United States on fox5ny.com, and also our free Fox 5 NY app. So thank you guys so much for being with me. Please follow me and like me on Facebook. Also, I would encourage you, please go to my Twitter page and follow me on Twitter too, because sometimes I make announcements on Twitter first. And of course, you know, if I'm at breaking news, I will be doing that live as much as is possible, and where there's good signals, which is more and more places, thankfully, on Facebook Live. So make sure you subscribe to the Facebook Live too. But have a wonderful, wonderful evening. I'm off to another women's history event, honoring some incredible ladies in Brooklyn, and I'll talk to you all soon. Take care.